the Rock Metal Podcast, episode 98 with Chasing Ghosts. Metal Nation, what is up? This is John from the Rock Metal Podcast. That sample you just heard was These Hollow Gods by Chasing Ghosts, who I've got on the show with me right now. They're a dark and heavy rock band from the UK. We're going to be listening to that song, as well as one other, while finding out more information about the band. Lee, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely good to have you on. Let's go listen back to that track, These Hollow Gods. I come back from these Hollow Gods. I'm going to admit that I love the guitars in the beginning.
I'm glad you hear that. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you like that.
I just like the way it starts off. I don't want to call it simple, right? But it starts off and it just builds and builds and builds, and then I think it lends itself to the, dare I say, emotional climax of the tune.
Yeah, I mean, so it's important for us, I think, to have. We always like to have an introduction to our songs, and yeah, that riff, it kind of just came, and straight away we knew it was going to be the opening riff, and it just carries the song really well. And as you say, yeah, the climax, which I think is the synths that you're talking about when they kick in. Yeah, I mean, that song just sort of, it kind of flowed really well when writing it, and yeah, I think a lot of guitarists will appreciate it, hopefully.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, what's the story or inspiration behind the track?
So yeah, so these Hollow Gods, basically, it's about how in life, we can devote our lives to something, a concept, a certain way of life. It could be in religion, music, even celebrity, and then for it to be revealed as nothing more than false hope and disappointment. So the consequences of putting so much faith into one person or idealism, and how it can blind our judgment of what's wrong and right. So and then realizing the cost and coping with that. I suppose you call it a moment of clarity, when you finally realize that what you've been basically putting all your faith in doesn't exist.
Yeah, oddly enough, and I don't know why this is, but the first thing that came to mind, and I have no idea why, but when the Soviet Union collapsed, and thinking the entire time capitalists are devils, they're the worst people on the entire planet, and then the whole system crumbles, everything is completely gone, and now we're going to move over to capitalism.
I mean, that's the great thing, I think, about music, in it, because everyone's going to have their own take on it, like a piece of artwork. So yeah, it's really good that people can, like yourself, hear that, and then straight away you get that kind of vision pop into your head. So hopefully people will have their own interpretation of it. So yeah, that's good to hear.
Now I'm curious, what brought about the name of the track, These Hollow Gods?
So the music came first, and then during the writing process for the lyrics, that just stood out as. I mean, obviously it's the chorus lyrics, but it's just the whole concept of the song, and it wasn't the first words that I wrote down on a piece of paper, but it came in the writing process, and it summed up the song perfectly. And also, I think it's little bit different, straight away it gave us ideas, visual ideas of what we could do for the video as well. Straight away you start thinking of Egyptian gods, and even the Incas and the Aztecs and that. So it conjures up a lot of I think strong idealisms.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that the music came first, lyrics developed well into it, and that ultimately the writing process went really well, and that especially with that riff, you knew it was going to be the opening riff to the song. I'm just curious, what was unique about the writing process? Like, is it pretty common for the music to come first? Is it pretty easy for you guys to typically just flow through a writing process with a track?
No, not all the time. I mean, basically, I tend to record everything on my home studio first of all. I've only got like a small multi-track recorder at home, and when I get a song idea or something pops in my head, I'll just basically record it at home first. I've got like a drum machine built in, and put the keys down, the guitars and the bass, and a rough vocal guide, and then I'll probably pretty much leave it for 3 or 4 weeks, and then come back to it. And if I'm not bored of it, then I'll take it along to show the other guys in the band. But basically, if I feel like, if I'm not interested in the song anymore, why should anyone else be? So, so the music always comes first, And then if the music is still fresh, then I'll sit down and start putting some lyrics to it as well.
Very cool stuff. Now, for Rock Metal Nation who dug the track These Hollow Gods, if you go to today's show notes, www.therockmetalpodcast.ca, there is a lyric video also available. So if you're curious as to what the lyrics are, you want to see some of the photographs and whatnot, the images, I guess is a better word to use, the images that have been brought to life behind and going along with the lyrics of the song, go ahead and go to today's show notes. That is www.therockmetalpodcast.ca. You can go and see the lyric video for that. Now, I'm curious, you did mention, obviously, some Egyptian gods, some Aztecs, Incans, that sort of thing, which is all fairly apparent in the lyric video, but I'm curious to hear from you how the decision-making process or the creative process went with regard to crafting the lyric video.
Well, we had quite a strong image for our cover of the album that's going to be released next year. For these hollow gods, and also some artwork. We couldn't decide between what was going to be on the main cover because we had a few ideas, and in the end we ended up using one for the single release and the other for the album release. In the end, these were the images we sent across to the company in California, and they were able to base the concept around the album cover. So we felt it was important that we need to get that in there, get that in the video, because that's what the whole concept is. And we're really pleased with it. It's a unique image. It's a photograph that we took ourselves, and then we basically put a load of effects on it and played about with it. And that's the main thing for us. I think it's got to be a unique concept and image, something that we've personally taken ourselves.
Very cool stuff. Let's go listen to the next track, Fallen from Grace. Fallen from Grace, it almost seems like a different kind of vibe.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, so there was a bit of time between when I wrote Fallen from Grace and these Hollow Gods. I was probably in a slightly different place as well at that time. But yeah, Fallen from Grace was another song that it did kind of it flowed again when I wrote it. I pretty much wrote the whole song in one evening, I think it was. Um, and yeah, really pleased the way it came out. And it was one of those songs that I just kind of knew was going to be a strong song.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned a strong song because I got from it lots of things, obviously, but one of the things that comes to mind is just a deeply emotional piece of music. Like it came from an incredibly deep place.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the darker edge that runs through our sort of sound, and it was one that when I wrote it, I could have put a whole load more of synths and keys on top of it, but actually it didn't need it just from the vocals alone, and the emotion that we were able to get into the guitars with the effects on the guitars. It was enough really. So there's a few synths in the middle and at the end, but it's not overloaded at all.
Yeah. What was the story or inspiration behind Fallen from Grace?
Well, yeah, so that's basically how, from a viewpoint of someone that's been held in a position of respect and authority and power, and how they can basically then become an outcast due to giving into temptation. The lyrics say that if you take away the curse of morality, that basically means there are no boundaries. And so, yeah, so that led us on to the video, and there's no sort of, I think, bigger kind of contrast than an angel being kicked out of heaven due to being tempted. And so that's kind of the imagery there and the story behind it. So yeah, I think everyone can fall from grace, and I think if you hold a certain position of power, then it's going to be quite a fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned also as well, this track was fairly easy to write. I'm curious, what was unique about the writing process when it came to Fallen from Grace?
I mean, basically, it was not compromising. So, like I said, it wasn't just put in, synths and keys in there for the sake of it. Every instrument that's in there has its own reason for being in there, and it was just basically trying to hold back from overcomplicating it, I think, as well, and just letting the song breathe and letting the lyrics, sort of speak for themselves. But then also just making sure that the emotion were in not just the lyrics and the vocals, but also trying to get that emotion into the guitars. And that was just spent by, spending a lot of time on the effects on the guitars.
All right. And it definitely shows, which I think it's always nice when that amount of work comes through and it sounds natural, honestly. It just sounds like a very well put together, well crafted song.
Thanks. That's it's good to hear that.
Yeah. Now, for Rock Metal Nation who dug the track Fallen from Grace, if you go to today's show notes at www.therockmetalpodcast.ca, you can go ahead and see the music video for Fallen from Grace as a bonus. Now, my big, massive question for you, Lee, is again, really good imagery or really solid, really astounding imagery in the music video. What was the creative direction behind the music video for Fallen from Grace?
Well, we definitely wanted to do something a bit different, and the song itself lend itself to so much dark imagery, and we wanted to go all out, and we didn't want just a normal performance video. We understand that as a unsigned band at the time, we need to introduce ourselves to people. People want to see what the band looks like, but also I think you want to keep people's interest, and there's a story in the song, and I think it's good that we can try and tell that as best we can. So first thing we done is we decided we wanted a contortionist to be part of the video, because we don't really see many contortionists in sort of rock music videos really. So straight away we thought, yeah, it'd be really cool. We can hear how the drum beat would lend itself to a contortionist. So we started looking for someone to fill that role, and we were lucky enough to find Pixie Lynott, who is actually, we didn't know at the time, but she'd actually been cast in Game of Thrones as a very small role. But so that was really cool to learn that, and yeah, it was really good to meet her. And she played the role of Temptation, and then we were able to find a guy who upcoming actor in Liverpool called Paul, who he plays the role of the Angel. And yeah, between them, it's we were able to get some really striking images, and hopefully tell the story of the song quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Rock Metal Nation who wants to invest their time more wisely on the internet, go ahead and go to www.therockmetalpodcast.ca. You can go ahead and see, as a bonus for the 2 tracks we listened to today, These Hollow Gods, there's a lyric video, and then for Fallen from Grace, there is a music video. Now, what exciting news do you guys have coming up for Rock Metal Nation to pay attention to?
Well, so I can give you an exclusive in a way, because we've just found out that we are going to be sharing the stage, our first festival gig, basically, which is going to be next February, and it's going to be in Copenhagen for a festival called the Nocturne Fest, and it's a doom metal festival. And we're going to be sharing the stage with a band called Octobertide, who are made up of ex-Catatonia members. So we're really, really well pleased about that. So.
Very, very cool stuff. All right, so Rock Metal Nation, if you are in the Copenhagen area, and you're going to want to, next February, you want to go ahead and check out Chasing Ghosts, as they are going to be at the Nocturne Fest, playing with Octobertide. So that's really cool stuff. Now, for the next logical question on Rock Metal Nation's mind, they love the 2 tracks. They're frothing at the ears right now. They want to know, how can we find out more about you? Is there a website that we should go to?
There is, yeah. We have our main website, which is chasingghosts.co.uk. But also most of our current gig and up-to-date information will be on our Facebook site. So that will be Facebook /See Ghosts Music, and you'll be able to catch all the latest updates on there. We're also on Twitter, and also on SoundCloud. But yeah, I think the easiest way to find us is through our main website. So it's www.chasingghosts.co.uk.
So if you've dug everything that you heard today, go ahead and go to chasingghosts.co.uk. You can also sign up with your Facebook page, facebook.com/seeghostsmusic. Also available on Twitter and on SoundCloud. But just as Lee said, he definitely recommends heading over to their main hub, www.chasingghosts.co.uk. Now, Lee, unless there's anything else you'd like to throw out there, I just wanted to thank you for taking time out of your day to come on to the Rock Metal Podcast and sharing your creativity with Rock Metal Nation.
That's been great. Thanks. Much appreciated. Thanks for your time, John.
All right, Rock Metal Nation. Hopefully you just found your new favorite band in Chasing Ghosts. Big thanks again to them for coming on and sharing their music with us. Make sure to head over to www.therockmetalpodcast.ca to get all the information on the show you just heard today. And until then, rock on, Rock Metal Nation.